would like to explain you all a little bit more about how governments create money, how central banks use their reserves by using 10 different steps. Step 1 is the setup. As you can see, I've drawn 3 simplified balance sheets, one for the Fed and 2 for commercial banks. The commercial banks have an account at the Fed where they store their digital central bank reserves, as you can see right here. So the Fed has liabilities for both Bank A and Bank B, and they have digital reserves and cash reserves, each 500. As you can see, the balance sheets are mirrored. The liability for the Fed is an asset for the commercial bank. The central bank reserves are interchangeable for cash, money, paper, notes. The commercial banks store their paper central bank reserves, the cash, in their vaults or ATMs. Hence, the cash money can be referred to as analogous to reserves. They are a liability of the Fed. If you want more information about this, feel free to read the book Central Banking 101 by Joseph Wang. I've highlighted this sentence. Commercial banks can convert their bank reserves into currency by calling the Fed, so they're one-on-one interchangeable. In step 2, we're going for credit creation. Commercial banks create credit for a mortgage, thereby they issue bank deposits and the house is collateral. So as you can see, nothing changes to the Fed balance sheet. I added 2 balance sheets, one for person A, one for person B. Person A uses commercial bank A, person B uses commercial bank B. What I added here is in the assets for commercial bank A, they have the house of person A. As liability, they created 1,000 bank deposits. The balance sheet for person A is then mirrored. They got as an asset, they created bank deposits, and as liability, they gave up their house or the rights to their house if they cannot pay back their mortgage. For commercial bank B and person B, it's literally the same thing. In step 3, we're going for a bank transfer. Person A pays person B $50. The result is that the reserves are also transferred between the banks. So as you can see, person A loses 50 bank deposits, person B gains 50 bank deposits. The mirrored balance sheets for commercial bank A and B also show this. So 950 here, 950 there, 1050 there, and 1050 there. What also happens is behind the screens, 50 digital reserves from commercial bank A are transferred to commercial bank B. This is also mirrored in the Fed's balance sheet, where bank A has 450 and bank B has 550. In step 4, the person A will withdraw cash from an ATM. As you can see, that this has an impact on the Fed as well. So person A takes his 50 bank deposits from 950 and transfers them or converts them to cash reserves. This means that on the liability side of commercial bank A, those 50 deposits are removed, but also of those cash reserves that he held from the Fed, 50 are removed from the ATM machine. This means on the mirrored balance sheet of the Fed, there's also 50 removed from the cash reserve of bank A, and 50 is added to currency in circulation. In step 5, we're going to talk about bond buying. Commercial bank A buys bond from the government using its reserves. No money is created. So as you can see here, commercial bank A had 450 reserves at the Fed. They now spent 100 of those and they transferred them to the TGA, which is the Treasury General Account from the government. The government holds all their money at the Fed. For this, I want to refer to a paper I found. As you can see here, you can feel free to pause the screen and read the pink highlighted lines. The paper is created by Chicago Fed. Since 2008, the Treasury shifted essentially all of its balances to the TGA. treasury. So as you can see here, commercial bank A buying a bond, they transferred 100 of their digital reserves into a bond. TGA as an asset, they got those 100 reserves, but their liabilities now also contain a bond. This also, of course, mirrors same for this. They should not be green, they should be white. There we go. In step 6, person A buys a bond from the government. We also see that no money is created. Person A held 800 bank deposits. Held 900 bank deposits, I'm sorry. He spent 100 bank deposits to buy a bond. So as you can see, 100 was removed from the bank deposits, but also of the digital reserves from bank A, 100 is removed and is added to the reserves of the Treasury General account. Also, of course, the Treasury now owes a bond to person A for 100, which is added on their balance sheet as well. Still no money has been created. If you go to step 7, the government receives taxes. Person A and person B pay 50 in taxes to the TGA. They use their bank deposits to do so. So as you could see in the previous step, they had 800 bank reserves and person B had 1050. So they each pay 50 of their bank deposits, but this also results in a digital reserve transfer from bank B and bank A to the TGA. As you can see, the mirrored balance sheets are still in line. Also for TGA, they now have 300 bank reserves. In step 8, the government spends money. They pay a stimulus check to person A, and we can see that bank deposits are created. Of the 300 reserves they had in the previous step, they now spend 50 to pay commercial bank A, which now have 50 bank reserves more, and they also credit 50 bank deposits to person A. So by spending the reserves that it got by selling bonds, the government now created bank deposits in the system, which is inflationary. If you go to step 9, we're going to review QE. In QE, commercial bank A, they had bought a bond before, as you can see, and the Fed buys this bond from bank A. So they credit 100 digital reserves to the asset side of commercial bank A, and commercial bank A, of course, has to give up the bond. And we can see that there was just the only thing that happened was an asset swap on commercial bank A's side. What we do see is that new reserves are created, and the bond is taken out of the financial system for now. On TGA side, nothing happened. In step 10, we're going to discuss CBDC. Person A can open an account at the Fed. The Fed gives 100 CBDC for free to person A, and we see that digital cash, which is CBDC, is created. On the liability side of the Fed, person A receives 100 CBDC, which is also mirrored, of course, on the asset side of person A. Commercial banks are not involved. It's now up to the Fed to do whatever they want with that CBDC. They can tax it, they can put interest rates on it. It's all up to them. They can add more money to the system if they want to. So the conclusion of all of this, the government cannot print money. They can only sell bonds and spend that money. And as we saw, if the government sells a bond to a bank, they receive reserves, so no money is removed from the system. If they then spend those reserves in the real economy, on a person or a company, bank deposits are created, which is of course inflationary. CBDC in itself is inflationary as it can be created out of thin air by the Fed. And CBDC is a digital form of cash. The Fed is liable for both digital and paper cash. That's it. I hope you guys learned something. For me, the most important thing was knowing how a government could create money, and I now know that they can't. It's It's the commercial bank that buys a bond from the government, and the government creates the money in the real economy by spending it. But the money was initially created by the commercial bank or by the Fed. Thank you all. If you have any remarks, please let me know.